Hey guys, just finished this crazy game with Darius and had a couple of things that I think might be helpful to kind of point out and how to win in low elo in almost any circumstance. So this game started out fairly normal. We had pretty even laning phase, a couple kills going each way, and then about I don't know 8 to 10 minutes in, our Jinx left, and so you can see she didn't even get her first back. And at this point, you've got to change a lot of things. So it's now a 4v5. The first thing I want to point out is don't immediately tell the enemy team. So you're under the assumption that everyone's playing together still, that you're trying to win it. Don't let them know right away. So our team actually did that. They started screaming, report Jinx, this and that. Well, if they don't notice it right away, those couple minutes can help you kind of extend laning phase. Because at this point, your bot lane loses. So your jungler either has to camp bot lane all game long, which puts them even further behind, which lets their jungler just steamroll wherever he shows up. So don't tell the enemy team that someone is left. Kind of let them wait to figure that out. And then two, you need to work to finish laning phase as soon as possible. So that means you need to steamroll your lane if you're a laner, or you need to be conscious as a jungler, gank where you can, take a turret, and force the group kind of mid to late game kind of to start. Next thing is don't freak out. So I got to a point where I was almost going to start typing and ask if the team kind of wanted to give up, and I was down to keep going, but it definitely is a tough thing to do in rank to win a 4v5, but don't immediately give up. But then you do understand that you need to change your play style. So what I tend to do is in my head, kind of by this mid-game phase, I designate the carry of our team, and I obviously don't tell the team, but if I notice someone really steamrolling on our team by that point, I make it my goal to peel for them. If it's me that's ahead, then I'll kind of attempt to take charge and gently tell my team what the plan is. If it is you, essentially you've got to take control. You've got to take objectives, and you've got to let your team know what you're doing. Don't keep them in the dark, but kind of guide them. And you can't fall into this kind of trap of just, oh, my team's gonna hate me if I don't help them, so I'm gonna go help them and die with them, right? You've got to kind of stick to your guns and do what you're gonna do. And if it is someone else, then you've got to make it your goal to stay with them, peel for them, keep them alive. But in either scenario, you've got to take responsibility. So essentially, if you're doing everything you can to peel for them, they still die, you can't freak out at them, because in your mind they're going to carry you, but you decided that knowing that you decided yourself that you couldn't carry, right? So if you are in the carry position and you guys end up losing, or your plan doesn't work, you've got to take responsibility for that as well, and not freak out, oh, you guys didn't work together, you guys didn't follow the plan, because everyone can't read your mind. And then also keep in mind, this is still low elo on both sides of the game. Adjust your build would be about the first thing. So when we got to mid-game, maybe about 20 minutes in or so, I think I was 4-0, 5-0, but it was kind of clear that the enemy was going to dump everything they had at me CC-wise, so I was running Tenacity, so I already had essentially free Merc Treads. They don't have a ton of CC. They had Vi's ult, I'm not going to count MF slow, but they had a couple knockups from Rakan, and I mean a stun from Aurelia, so nothing too crazy, but I knew that I needed to build more tanky than damage based. I was already dealing a decent bit of damage, and so I really only got the Triforce, and then I went straight for Dead Man's Plate after that. And so most of my items, I went Randuin's, then Sterak's, and finished off with GA, I think. So most of my items were survivability, because I knew that if I died, that instantly meant the enemy was taking an objective, and I mean, you've got a 5v3 at that point. Teamwork becomes way more important. Sometimes you can kind of AFK split push in some of these games, and then by happenstance your team, I mean, they can be idiots, but they can still take objectives because it's a 4v3 or even a 4v2 based on how fed you are on the side lane. But split pushing becomes a lot harder to do in a 4v5, because So in a typical game, say you're fed, you can take on anybody 1v1. They can still send one person, and if they're not an idiot, they can still defend under turret, right? And so one person can halt you, and maybe they'll send two to try to go for the kill. Well, if I were to split push, they were to send one person on me, that leaves a 4v3 for my team. And if you're assuming your team already isn't the smartest, right, that's an easy win for the enemy team. So couldn't necessarily do that. So many times I would kind of split push until halfway and then join my team, but I had to play a lot closer to them than previously before. You'll see me kind of join some team fights a little bit late, but that is on purpose. Kind of let the enemy waste a lot of their abilities. So in this game specifically, if you look at Katarina and Twitch, they both died a lot, especially more early on. And I knew that they were very, very susceptible to being bursted down, especially with Vi's ultimate with Katarina. So I knew that they weren't in a position to carry, and that's when I kind of took charge. But yeah, we'll kind of go into some gameplay, and I'll kind of explain some things as we move along. Alright, so just talking over some of these clips, I'll kind of pause and skip around as we get to different points, but I'm going to kind of go through my decision making, things I thought worked well, things that maybe I didn't do so well, and we'll just go from there. So early on, you see I really pushing up a little bit too far. I do get a nice gank from Twitch. She really didn't have anywhere to go. Already burned her flash previously. Here, same thing. So I really just uses her stun way too early. I'm able to pop ghosts, and even if she did flash, I could have flashed right after her. Here's kind of mid game where we saw that Jinx had left, and they realized that, so they were trying to push, and they had free mid. I'm able to catch MF out, easily take her down. Could have taken probably the 1v3 if they went in for it. Just not even close, really. Here I'm able to catch Irelia out again, so I had just warded this brush and she was walking up to ward it. I do have Lulu coming to help, which is nice, but yeah, she's not getting away from this one. Twitch comes up too, but here this is kind of right after a dragon fight. So they had 2 drags at this point. I'm 4-0 and clearly carrying, so I mean I got 2 ults out of this. The enemy's very, very clearly targeting me. It's kind of fortunate to get out of this one to some extent. Got some shutdowns, which was nice. Was able to just kind of chase Vi down after this. Here, I mean, just popping. Well, I guess I didn't even use Ghost, but I had Ghost if I needed to. Just able to use kind of my pursuit speed to catch Irelia off guard. Here I'm gonna pause it. So right after, I mean, looking at that Zed ult, I mean, it did 160 damage to me. So at this point, I finished my Triforce, was really going for some tanky items. I knew I needed out sustain. And here I've got Irelia beat by 3 levels. And so she's going to try to come ward in here, and she thinks she's got Zed close enough, but I mean, Zed's smart. I didn't need to flash there. Should have ghosted if anything. But Zed ended up backing off, and that wouldn't have been close if it was, even if they did both engage at the same time. Here, just able to catch the enemy trying to engage on my team, and my team did a good job. You can see I out-leveled them. They're still doing damage themselves, and we're still all out-leveling the enemy, so that wasn't a good engage anyway. But I mean, we're able to chase this down and dodge that. Easy, slow, Q, and ultimate. So, I mean, at this point, we're able to force a Baron fight. I'm able to catch the MF out that she tries to steal a Baron. I mean, the Vi just heads straight in. We secure Baron. So here we're able to turn that into a drag fight. I knew that Vi would need to step up to melee and clear my pink ward, so I'm able to just pull her straight through the wall. So now we've taken out their jungler. I mean, it's an easy dragon. This puts up to 3 dragons, I think. So we're able to really start pressuring. They had 3 dragons at this point too. Immediately after that, we catch him out. Randuin's Omen pursuit speed is crazy. I pop Ghost too. I knew that this was really worth the fight. I had flash coming up. So here I don't turret dive, even though I know I could. I'm just not taking any chances. This goes back to always, essentially, I knew that I needed to stay alive to win this, so we were kind of forcing them down, but it was only after Twitch took turret aggro that I jumped in, and were able to turn that into a nice couple more kills. Actually, a fairly early ace, burst down some turrets, and then the enemy kind of had a counter push against us. But we've got 4 of them here, and it's not even close. It's me and Twitch. Yeah, and I never dip below full health, honestly. And I mean, that goes back to kind of building tank. So building full tank, 200, almost 270 armor, kind of a tank mobility build, and I wouldn't pop full damage there, almost 600 AD, until I proc my passive. And that was essentially the whole goal. Is, I mean, we're tearing them up, but essentially until I hit my passive, I wasn't able to output extreme amounts of damage. But I was able to sustain any of the CC they had, and if they had wasted all their CC on me, our team would have shredded them. I mean, we're just catching them out at this point, and kind of near the end of the game, you can see, so they're using everything they've got on me, all their stuns, and I'm not dropping below 75% here. And I mean, this is I'll call it a 2v5, but 2v4, but I mean, Katarina is half dead, right? And they've got, I mean, they're using everything they got on me, and I've got some heals coming in, but they really just don't necessarily have a chance. And I mean, yeah, that's essentially the game. So the biggest things we had going for us is none of us wanted to quit. We didn't have anybody try to forfeit. And then we all did work together. So I would call this a carry, but I think that my team, even if they weren't the best at times, still tried to stick to the plan. I think we communicated well, and essentially the enemy just did not pick their engages well. And I mean, at the end, our support is out leveling their top and support by 2 levels, right? I hit full build well before any of them did, and so it's just essentially knowing how to snowball your wins, taking objectives after you get a pick or 2, staying together. The enemy will always outnumber you in these situations, obviously. So it's just playing a lot smarter, and you just essentially can't make mistakes. So I didn't die at all here, but a death equals a taken objective, and it's just not worth the risk. So, alright, that's all I got for today. I hope you guys learned something. If you did, drop a comment below, leave a like, and subscribe if you ever want to see more videos like these. And if any of you ever want to play a game, feel free to look me up and let me know.